everyone, and welcome to a new video where we will learn a lot of interesting information about different types of dinosaurs. Here we can already see two herbivorous dinosaurs. On one side, we have a big Triceratops. As you know, it was characterized by the 3 horns on its head. On the other side, we have another large herbivore, also from the same family as the Triceratops. But we can see some differences. For example, instead of having 3 horns on the top of its skull, it only had 1, which was also very large. This dinosaur is called Styracosaurus. We will take a closer look at them later, since they have sounds and lights. For now, what we're going to do is open our mystery box, because the inside is full of different dinosaurs. We're going to learn a lot of interesting information about them. Look, we have a lot to discover and also to see. Let's take them all out to learn their names and some of their characteristics. Let's see which one comes out first, and it looks like we have a big carnivorous dinosaur. We're also going to experiment with the different textures of the figures, since this time, as you can see, the figure is one of the soft ones.
Since its skin can be stretched, and also the inside is filled with little cork balls.
The Dilophosaurus was one of the first large carnivores that existed. It could reach about 9 meters in length and an approximate height of about 2 meters. As you can see, it was characterized by the 2 crests it had on the top of its head, which are very similar to a rooster's comb. As you can see, it walked in a bipedal manner, since its hind legs were much larger and more robust than its front legs. However, they were quite long, and it used them to help it eat, to grab its prey, or to catch meat and bring it to its mouth. It had a large jaw full of sharp teeth. It lived on planet Earth during the Jurassic period, more than 200 million years ago. Let's see which one is next, and here's one of my favorites. This is a large herbivorous dinosaur called Stegosaurus. The Stegosaurus was known for being a very large and robust dinosaur. In addition, it had large bony plates on the top of its body. As you can see, the bony plates were of different sizes and were divided into 2 large rows.
Do you know what they were for? They were for defense. So when a predator came to bite it with its big jaws, those bony plates kept it from being killed. Normally, almost all herbivorous dinosaurs had some physical feature that helped them defend themselves from predators. In addition, it could also use its tail defensively, swinging the 4 large spikes at the tip from side to defend itself. A curious feature of the Stegosaurus is that its head was very small compared to the rest of its body. It could weigh about 5 tons. It walked on all 4s. As you can see, it had 4 large legs, although if you look closely, the hind legs are bigger, because it needed a lot of strength in its back end to swing its tail with a lot of force, and that way, the tail swipe would be very effective. Also, I like this figure because we can squish it a lot too. We'll leave it here and continue with a different one.
Look, is something flying out of our box? It's not a dinosaur. Actually, it's called a flying reptile. There were many kinds of flying reptiles. However, because of the physical characteristics of this figure, we already know that it's a Pteranodon. It was characterized by having this large horn at the back of its head, but most of all, by this beak. It hardly had any teeth. It did have something very curious, a small pouch at the bottom of its beak, very similar to that of pelicans. To be able to store food, it mainly fed on fish and marine animals. It's also soft, and as you can see, its body was quite toned. It was very slim and is very reminiscent of the physique of modern bats. However, the Pteranodon was gigantic in size, with a wingspan of more than 2 meters. It had strong claws that it also used to catch food, so it would always fly over areas like rivers,
seas, and oceans. And if it spotted any kind of fish, it would dive down and try to catch it to feed itself. Impressive, isn't it? What?
And we keep discovering interesting information about dinosaurs. This time, we have a herbivorous dinosaur.
It was a giant among giants, and as you can see, it had a long neck. There were a lot of different species of long-necked dinosaurs. However, based on the physical characteristics we're seeing, I would say that this time it's a Diplodocus. As you can see, it had a long neck, but it was also characterized by having a long tail, which was shaped like a whip, since it was very thin at the tip. This was its defensive weapon. It could whip its tail very quickly to defend itself from those predators that tried to take a bite out of it. Also, its neck was so long that it could eat the leaves at the top of the trees. As you can see, unlike the Brachiosaurus, which was also a long-necked dinosaur, the Diplodocus had larger and more robust hind legs than its front legs, because it also needed to have tremendous strength in its rear end to swing its tail forcefully, just as was also the case with the Stegosaurus, as I mentioned to you earlier. I also really like the figure because it comes with different textures and also different shades, like these black stripes that run all over its body. As you can see, its jaw wasn't very big. That's because it only ate plants, leaves, grass, and fruit, unlike carnivores, which needed to have a lot of teeth to chew meat. We'll leave our Diplodocus here and continue with a different one. This is a Parasaurolophus. As you can see, it had a large horn on the back of its head, and I really like this dinosaur because its physical features are very interesting.
For example, do you know what this horn was used for?
It used it to communicate with the rest of the herd, since the horn was able to make sounds very similar to those of a trombone. In this way, when, for example, a predator came to attack them, if one of them saw it, it would start making sounds to warn the rest of the herd,
So that they would start running and escape. Very interesting, isn't it?
Also, it was quite robust. Another characteristic is that it was able to walk bipedally on its hind legs, which, as you can see, were quite large and thick. But it could also walk quadrupedally, using all 4 of its legs. As you can see, the footprints of Parasaurolophus were quite different. Its toes were positioned in such a way that it could support the entire weight of its body very well. It also had a long tail, and, as you can see, its jaw was small. It only fed on grass.
Here's another one, by the way. It also lived on planet Earth during the Cretaceous period, just like the great Triceratops. I already talked to you about the Triceratops at the beginning of the video. As you can see, it is quadrupedal and also has a very robust body.
To defend itself, it used the shape of its skull. As you can see, it had 3 horns. The third horn, located on the top, was much smaller than the 2 upper horns, which could reach over a meter in length. In addition, it also had several spikes on the sides of its skull. Do you see it? Also, in order to defend itself, it had a rather robust tail and something very characteristic of the Triceratops. Just like in other herbivores, it had a strong beak at the tip of its mouth, which it used to dig in the ground in search of food. And earlier I promised you that we were also going to look at this figure, as I mentioned to you. It has sounds and we can make different movements, since it's articulated. It can move its hind legs, its front legs, and I really like that because we can put it in different positions. Crouched, standing up. If we move its head, that's when it makes the sounds. We can hear its big roar.
Super cool! Let's look at the other one. This one here, as I mentioned, also has lights. Let's see.
This is its big roar. Both its eyes and the horn on top of its nose light up. Let's turn off the lights to see this Styracosaurus's glowing horn.
And we've finished today's video. Here we have all the dinosaurs we've seen today. I hope you've learned some new and interesting details. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a big like, and I invite you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. Also, by doing so, you help me keep creating content for all of you. It's time to say goodbye. See you in the next video. We're ready for the last one.
Y dinosaurios interesantes. Adiós, que paséis un día fantástico.